Welcome back to the Confidence Formula. We are getting into week 7. Some more deep dive into new stuff this week. What I call the situational skill system. Really just giving you a framework, again, on the decision-making side of things, what to do first based on the situation you're in. A lot of players struggle with that more than just about anything else. Freezing up, wondering what's the right thing to do, getting yelled at and benched by your coach if you do the wrong thing, but never really given a order of operations, which is what I like to call it. So we're going to talk about the order of operations, both as an individual player and as a team, what that looks like. And then we're going to get into a lot of two-man actions this week, really talking about you and a partner, you and the ball, or if you have the ball, what your partner that does not have the ball should be doing to create space and really give the defense a hard time is our ultimate goal here. So we're going to go through situation in a fast break, where to run to if you don't have the ball, if you're ahead or behind the ball, where to attack if you do have the ball, what our basic options are. And then half court options, we're going to go through the two shapes we like to work in, circling the drive with drive and kick, and then triangle cutting, cutting to basket to space and filling back toward the ball, and just working through the footwork for each of those, how to decide again when and where to use those based on your teammates and on the defense. So lots to cover. One of our most fun weeks we're going to have on the court with a lot of two-man game actions. So the order of operations, starting with the importance of context, right? We've talked a little bit about in past weeks, the binary decision making, what I like to call it, getting things boiled down to option A as a light switch that's always on, or option B that is triggered when something happens to change my mind. And context is really the secret ingredient to make that possible. Like I couldn't say in any general situation in basketball, this is what you should always do, and this is the second option, counter move. It has to be very contextual, meaning a specific situation is setting up, there's players in certain spots, and based on that snapshot, is what I like to call it, that gives us the right order of operations, what our options should be based on that situation. So that allows us to get to a rank order of importance or order of priority, would be another way to say that. So that you should try this first, and if that is not available, then you can go to option 2. And I think about this a lot like the order of operations for math. And if you're familiar with that at all, it's like taking whatever's in parentheses first. If you have a math formula, right? Add or multiply or whatever's inside the brackets, do that first. And then if there's an exponent outside the brackets, then apply that next. And then you would go to any multiplication or division, and then you would go to addition or subtraction last. And that's how I kind of like to think about different basketball actions. And so we've already worked on the individual side with just playing closeout one-on-one, working on our stride, stop, catch, shoot it or drive it, making that quick decision. And that's a really great analogy to start from, just to get you understand kind of my approach here. And so the order of operations there is shoot first always and drive second, right? It's a simple binary decision, but we have a clear order that we're evaluating our options in. And the opposite is true when we have the ball already in our hands, like we worked on in week 4, going through ball handling, playing one-on-one off the dribble. If the ball is already a live dribble, then my best option is to attack the rim first. Like I should be driving as my first priority. My first order of operations is drive and score unless somebody stops me. And then if they back off, I can pull up and shoot. But if they stay close to me, I'm blown by them to drive to the basket. So in a team setting, we look at very similar with the difference between a fast break and where the defense is and how the ball is operating and whether we have the ball ourselves or we are running ahead of the ball or behind the ball. And in a half court, similar approach. Like if I have the ball in my hands, I'm coming down to just drive and score every time and make the defense have to figure out how to stop me. And when they do stop me, then I kick it and it opens up kind of a natural progression of other options. And then the last part of this that I really wish all coaches understood is the difference in types of possessions. And I learned this from my mentor, Ron Ecker, really great guy, former NBA assistant coach for a long time. And he actually broke it down more than I'm going to bother you with, but he broke it into seven different types. And what I try to get across is just the two big ones, which are what he called positive possessions or negative possessions. Positive possessions are when you have an advantage based on how you got the ball in your hands as a team. So positive would be steals and defensive rebounds. You have the ball and you have the element of surprise, and the other team has a really hard time stopping you. Therefore, you should play fast and try to score as soon as possible. The second type is a negative offense possession. Either the ball went through the net, regular field goal, or free throw. You had to step out of bounds before you could give it to your teammate and get going. Or worst case, ball went out of bounds or somebody traveled. A referee had to touch the ball and hand it to you to then inbound it. Both of those are so slow that you have no element of surprise. You have no advantage when you attack. The defense is already back and waiting for you. And so what we try to work on as a first priority is knowing the difference between those two. So you're not always attacking fast and running into a set defense and having way higher turnovers than you need to have, but you're also not always walking the ball up and losing that element of surprise advantage when you did get a defensive rebound or a steal. And you're also not, as a big guy, waiting around for somebody to rescue you from the ball and take it from you, or you give it to a guard. You are taking the ball and leading the attack so that your team has that advantage element of surprise. And so we're going to dive into what it looks like in a fast break setting based on where you are and where the ball is. So our order of operations in a fast break. Rule number one, the ball should attack the middle of the court. So if you get the ball, attack toward the middle. If you don't have the ball, you should expect the ball to attack the middle and you should get out of the way. One of my pet peeves is usually more common with someone younger than your age, but like fifth grade player, they run ahead of the ball on a fast break, but they run right down the middle. And so the ball is directly behind their head and they can't see it. And they end up with like wide receiver football, try to play to catch it and score it without running past the rim. It's really, really difficult to make that play. And so if you're ahead of the ball, rule number two is to run to space, which is not in the middle of the floor. We want to run down the sideline as wide as possible. So there's often volleyball lines painted on a regular full court basketball court. And I like to get you running outside the volleyball lines as a minimum. So you have a lot of space, and then because you have a lot of space, you also have a great angle to then attack the rim if the rim is empty, right? And so I call it run to space in less empty rim, which means if there's one defender back, which is very common, and he decides to play out from the basket and stop the ball, then the rim is empty and you should angle in from that sideline probably near half court by that point, you should angle into the basket. Now you have an angle where you can see the ball behind you and you can see the basket ahead of you and you can catch it and score it a lot easier than if you're running right down the middle with the ball behind your head. And it also gives you, again, the order of operations that you shouldn't run to the rim automatically because ideally you run to space and pull the defense out a little bit and the ball just keeps the ball in the same player's hands and gets all the way to a layup, right? Simplest offense first means get out of the way, let the ball get a layup. We don't have to throw any passes, right? If you're way ahead of the ball and the rim is empty, then we want you to cut from that space on the sideline toward the rim, and you can catch a pass that's faster than the ball dribbling and then get a layup. So again, the order in which you attack each of these is important. And then rule number three, if you're trailing the ball, so let's say you are a rebounder and you throw a great outlet pass. Now the ball is ahead and it's attacking ahead. Normally, ball handler is going to have a favorite hand. Most of us are right-handed, so they're going to drift toward their favorite hand with defense in front of them. They're going to start shielding the ball away from the defense. They're going to drift off to the right side of center, even if they're attacking roughly in the middle of the court. Therefore, ball is off center being stopped by a defender. Rim is empty again. Run to rim is our first priority. And this is one where, as a big guy, as a player that gets a lot of rebounds, you can get 10 or 12 points a game by just doing this. Every time you throw the ball ahead, you sprint to the rim, and assuming the ball has not already attacked the rim itself, which would change your mind, you want to run to the rim because when the ball gets stopped by the defense is like taking a breath. Whew, we stopped the layup, we stopped the fast break. Now where's my man? And while that chaos is going on, I like to call it scramble. While the defense is in scramble, you're running right through the middle of them to the rim, and either they're all going to panic and guard you and leave somebody else open, or they're all going to be working at finding their man and matching up, and you run and get a layup all the time. Works really, really well. And then the counter move here is when the ball does attack the rim, which if your team is playing with the same mindset as we're talking about, they would have already tried to attack the basket, which means now you're a trailer running down the middle and you get to stop at the 3-point line and be a trailing shooter because the ball has driven and sucked all the defense down to the basket. There's nobody left at the perimeter. And when you arrive, you usually get a nice rhythm jump shot wide open at the 3-point line. So let's see what this looks like on film. We've got the rim empty version here first. We're attacking. The wing is running ahead down the sideline and then angling in toward the basket. Then we have running to space in the corner, basically a drive and kick play. Ball attacks middle. If there's a defender at the basket, we're kicking it to the corner shooter. Then we have a back cut as a counter move. If we're both guarded, there's two defenders back, we can actually dribble at that corner shooter that ran ahead of us and get them to back cut down the baseline. And this takes some coordination, takes some patience if you're that player head, not to cut too soon. Wait for that defender's head to turn is what we like to talk about. We'll get to that later. Then if you're the trailer, coming up the middle, ball moves off to the right, you're going to run left side of rim and crash right to the backboard. Trying to catch and score, again, putting pressure on the rim because the defense thought they had us stopped. Same play again here, a little bit different angle. Ball handler stays out, trailer runs into the rim. And we do it opposite wherever the ball went. So these guys are getting out a little bit wide, but if the ball goes left side of the floor, the trailer should run right side of rim, just creating opposite space. And then again, as the trailer, if the ball attacks the rim and pulls defense in the paint, being able to step right into catch and shoot shot as you're trailing the play down the floor could be really, really effective. If you watch NBA teams, they do this a lot. It's a secondary break. The defense is in scramble, and the big guy that can shoot steps down right into a wide open shot. Really, really effective. If you can shoot it and you're a big guy, you can get a lot of points with this and crashing the rim. Again, that order in which you think about this is the important part, and what we're going to spend most of our time on the court working on. All right, half court options. We're going to talk about this in relation to levels of defense. This is how I've arrived at the order of operations. You could do anything you wanted, anytime you wanted, but if there's a terrible defense guarding you, then there's really no reason to do anything else but just drive and score and keep doing that. Make them have to figure out how to stop you. Like if we've got a mismatch and our best player can go get layups all day long, like as a coach, I don't want to do anything more complicated. Like, let's go get layups all day long. When they double team them, now it's a level 2 defense. They're actually bringing some help and stopping the drive. Now we can kick, right? And then level 3 defense would be I can't drive as a ball handler, and my teammates are open on the wings because all the defense is sucked into the paint, right? They're trying to stop a drive ahead of time by packing it in. Maybe they're even playing zone. So now passing it is wide open. I can pass and cut and get us moving, attacking in a different way. And then level 4 would be they have stopped me from driving. They've done it one-on-one with a really good on-ball defender, and they're now denying my teammates so I can't throw any passes, and they think they kind of got me, right? I'm stuck. So our dribble at is our way of overpowering that, right? Counter move to a denial defense. I dribble at my teammate, and now they're able to either back cut because their defender was overplaying the pass, or they're able to come and take a handoff. And again, we've got a new angle, new space, new way to attack. And all of these I arrived at from the idea of keeping the locus of control in the hands of the ball handler. So I'm not calling for a ball screen, which requires somebody else to see my signal and run over and set it and basically save me from being stuck, right? And I'm not calling a play, waiting for other action to happen to then get me set up. I'm just coming down the floor, drive and score, boom, drive and kick, boom. Not there for a drive, pass and cut, boom. I know what I'm doing each time just based on what the defense is giving me. And even up to level 4 here, when the defense really thinks they've done their job and they're locking us down, I am creating, initiating, controlling the action to attack all by myself by having the ball in my hands.